Well, I guess I'll sit down and enjoy a nice movie. Well, the remote's lost once again. Oh, there it is. Darn kids. There's a place for it, yet it never makes it to the TV, and you just can't find the remote because it's not where it should be. Well, today I've worked on a solution. Alright, so this is going to be overall a little different than the typical video I try to do. There's going to be a little less assembly. I tried to film what I could. It was just a little too hard, ran into some issues. But overall, it works. So, this is my remote caddy that guarantees remote gets put back. Then plug it in. Let's give it a second on the screen here to pop up. Get that out of the way. All right, there we go. I do need to fix the order. All right, maybe before this, maybe after this, but I will go into the code a little bit as far as how it works. But when all three remotes are in here, it should the overall remotes here shows on. Now you pull it off in 9 minutes, it will beep 3 times. A minute after that, it will turn on TV kill, which will kill the TV. If you happen to use bypass key, you notice on the screen, it turns it on. Hold it there for a couple seconds. It turns on bypass, and now it's showing the remotes are on. So, say you lose a remote, or you want to be able to keep the remote out of the caddy, use the bypass key. When you put a remote back in, it turns off bypass. The next time you remove one of the remotes, once again you have your 10 minutes. Matter of getting it on there just right. All right, well, I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for the next part. All right, I figured I'd kind of run through. Now, right now, I don't have the unit plugged in, so we are seeing everything unavailable. So this is it right here. So start out with the bases. We have 2 Hall effect sensors in this one, 2 Hall effect sensors in this one. We only have 1 in here. It's just the way the Fire Stick is kind of contoured. It only made sense to put 1. Now for these 2, they're connected to one another. So as far as the Wemos D1 Mini, it is only seeing 1 Hall effect sensor, but in essence, it takes both of them in here to actually, close the circuit. Same thing for this one. So we have dock 1, dock 2, and dock 3 here. Now, the remote sensor, and I'll show you that the remote sensor is just a virtual sensor that consists of the 3 of these. So if any one of these are off, this will remain off. So as far as the remotes, this is either all 3 of the docks have to have the remotes in them in order to show on, or if the switch bypass is on. And when I go to show you the actual functional demo of it, you'll understand at that point. So I do have this little device. It is just simply a magnet on a little key ring. And because at the end of the day, the children might end up watching this, I'm not going to show them where, but there is a place on here you can place this for about 2 seconds, and it will turn on a bypass switch. So right here on the screen, the sensor, bypass sensor, that is the Hall effect sensor that is used for the bypass. When this is on for 2 seconds, it will turn on the bypass switch. So basically, if the adults want to watch TV and we want to be able to keep the remotes out of this for more than 10 minutes, we can take our handy key, touch it to a specific area for 2 seconds. There is a built-in Pico buzzer, so that will beep, letting us know or confirming that it's been put into bypass mode, and it will remain that way until any one of the remotes are put back into the dock at that point. So when we're done watching the movie, because we're adults, we'll put it away. It will reset the whole thing. So as far as what you see here, fairly simple. So once again, you have the dock 1, dock 2, dock 3. Automation for the TV kill switch is going to be if the remote is off for more than 10 minutes. So when the remote is on for 9 minutes, it will engage the Pico buzzer 3 times, and it'll beep, 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 giving a minute warning to put the remotes in there, or it will turn the TV off. In this case, I'm going to use Home Assistant automation that states if the TV kill switch turns on to kill the TV. The switch turns off, turn the TV back on. Now, this isn't actually turning the TV itself on. This is killing the actual power to the TV. After the 10 minutes, if any of the if all the remotes are restored, or if it's put in bypass mode, it will turn the TV kill off, which in return will turn the TV back on. So just run through the code side of this real quick. If you don't have any interest, go ahead, just skip this whole part. As far as the script, we're utilizing our delay right here. And it's based on our substitution. So 9 minutes. We have a 2-second delay after that. Then we're going to run a condition. So, and this is stating that this sensor has been off for 9 minutes, which is why we have a 2-second delay here, is we need to hit that 9-minute mark. This, and then this at this point needs enough time for the condition to actually come back true or false before it runs through this portion of it. Then if this binary sensor is off, everything holds true. Turn the buzzer on a couple times, and it'll turn on the TV kill. Under switch, we have the virtual TV kill switch. Same thing for the bypass. When the bypass is turned on, it beeps the buzzer, just to let you know it's been turned on. We have our actual GPIO feeding the buzzer itself. Under binary sensor, we have remotes, and this is using a Lambda function that states if remote 1, remote 2, and remote 3 is true, or, that's what this is representative, or if our bypass switch state is on. So if it's on, so on the initial press and release, so if it goes on to off, it's going to execute warning. If it goes to on, it's going to stop this warning script, and it's going to turn off TV kill. So this is our warning script right here. It will be pressed when all the remotes are entered into the cradle, or if the bypass is turned on. So basically, when the remotes return, stop the countdown and make sure the TV is back on. So the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Well, I do appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump into the next spot. My first design here would be this guy. This would house the 3 remotes. Now, one of the remotes, which I'll show you those at some point, but one of those remotes is not a flat remote. So I wanted to sit flat, so I angled that down. So my first design would be basically a tray that houses all 3 remotes. Now, underneath, I kind of recessed it and put a channel here so I can put magnets in the remote and then move around the sensors as needed to pick those up. This would house a NeoPixel along with the buzzer and the Wemos D1 Mini. The cord would go through this little hole. So that was my original design. But looking at our current application, we just didn't have the room to actually place this. So where we end up settling on was this one, which you kind of see in the first prototype. So I've changed the dimensions. I've added a back channel here in order to position the Hall effect sensors. Now I'll show you the remotes, but the bottom of the remote is not flat, it's kind of curved. So this right here is the front, this right here is the back. The curve is actually back here. So these Hall effect sensors, I can slide in here and position them just right, and they actually won't make any contact with the remote. So the Hall effect sensors will go in here. I have some really thin wire that will solder onto those Hall effect sensors, pass through this channel right here, end up going through all 6 of these Hall effect sensor wires, will end up going through this small 3x3mm hole that passes down into the chamber in here where the Wemos D1 Mini will sit. So along with this right here is where the little buzzer will go. Will pass through for the sound. The wires will come down into that little channel there, poke out here, come up, run the channel. So I mean, is it the best thing in the world? No, no. I also have 2 pass-throughs right here, so we can screw this to the wall. So I'm not exactly sure the application. All right. And then once all this is in there, I'm probably going to drop some epoxy or something in there to actually, seal it up and prevent the Hall effect sensors from being touched. I might even do, kind of like a black liquid, add some black dye to the epoxy. It completely hides the Hall effect sensors, cover that hole and everything else. So, could it be done better? Yes, but the whole point of this, and the reason I'm going through with this on the video with you guys, is to show you that you really don't have to have a whole lot of experience. Just have to have a little bit of a creative mind and kind of jump into it. Not everything you build has to be perfect. It just needs to be functional. And I think at the end of the day, I think this will turn out just fine.